Hi, yes, my name is Adam Robinson. I'm one of the licensing managers based at the library. The first thing I want to say is I'm not a lawyer and I'm not the copyright police. What I am is an advisor, and I'm here to support you really to try and get hold of whatever resources you need and make sure that they are copyright compliant. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about copyright. There we go. So the first question is, who's responsible for copyright? And the answer is really, well, everyone. Everyone is responsible for copyright. We're all subject to copyright law. Ultimately, the burden of responsibility falls on the person who is copying resources and then uploading them. So the next question is then, how can you take resources and reproduce them for your students to access on your VLE? Well, there's good news. Okay, because we are in a higher education institute, we are afforded a certain flexibility in terms of being able to work around copyright so that we can produce a certain amount of material for our students, for our teaching. One of the key ways of doing this is through licenses. Now, some of you may have heard of the CLA license, which is the Copyright Licensing Agency. This license costs the university just over £250,000 a year, so it's very valuable. And we do that because basically this allows us to reproduce either a chapter or an article or 10% of the total work per module. And that covers pretty much everything that's published in the UK, actually. And it also covers certain publications from abroad as well. But you might be asking, okay, well, what happens if you've got an American publication, you want to reproduce a chapter there for your students to look at, and you want to store it on the VLE? Well, that's okay, because we can then go and look at the Copyright Clearance Center, which is the American equivalent of the CLA, and we can get in touch with them and purchase a license for you to use that material. Okay, should that fail, another option open to us is getting in touch with the publisher directly and negotiating with them a cost to say, we want to use this chapter, we want to upload it, how much will it cost us to do that? And then finally, we have legal exceptions. Now, these legal exceptions are written into law, where basically it allows us to reproduce a certain amount of material. So one of the class things I'm sure you're aware of is when you are doing, say, a PowerPoint presentation and you want to include a film still, or you want to put in, quote, a line of poetry, you can do that as long as you attribute it and say it came from this source and this person said it, and that's called attribution, and you can do that under the exception in law, which is called quotation for illustration. So you're kind of covered. So the law is working with you to be able to reproduce these kind of materials, but it has to be within a framework. So that then brings us on to the Digitisation Service, which is what the library offers you. This works really, really well with reading lists. And basically, what happens is when you create your reading list and you have your item on there, you have your book title, if there's a chapter, a key reading from that book that you want your students to look at, you can submit, there's a little button that says Request Digitisation. You click that, and it fires that off as a request to my team. And what we do is we check the permissions, we source an appropriate license, and then we acquire a high-quality scan. And we'll make sure that it's fully OCR. That means it's fully accessible for students with visual impairments. We'll make sure that a cover sheet is added, so you've got your legal protection there, and we will then link it directly to the reading list. So in terms of the user experience, when the student goes to the list, they see the item on there, there's a little button that says View Online, they click it, and it opens up in the window for them. So it's seamless, and it's really helpful, and it's direct as well. And the great thing is for the student, what they can do is once it's there, they can look at it, they can download it, or they can print it off. And it's important to remember as well that that is a one-to-one ratio. So it's unlimited access, it's simultaneous access. Everyone on the course can access it all at once as many times as they want. And to highlight that, some stats for you. To show how it is actually engaged with, and it is popular. So if we look at the past academic session up until the end of April, we can see there that the amount of interaction we had was 22,000 digitised scanned documents were looked at by students last year. Just over 5,000 were downloaded, and a little over 1,000 were actually printed off and stored. So it is using this good levels of engagement there. So that's great for reading lists. For those of you who are engaging with that, it's really easy and straightforward. But the big question is, what about VITAL? Okay, for those who aren't using reading lists, what happens to copyright then? Okay, so last year, some of you may have heard, we had the CLA audit. This is where the CLA come in and they do a spot check, and they wanted to see what's on a reading list, they want to see what's in the VLE, and they want to see whether it's copyright compliant. Now, thankfully, we passed it, and we got an excellent rating, which is really, really good news. But it did start us asking some questions about what is in the VLE, because we don't know. We don't have access to it, so we don't know what's stored on there. So this led to a little bit of outreach work, talking with academics to see sort of what the feeling and vibe is. And there's two dominant trains of thought with this. On the one hand, a certain amount of academics feel like, oh, well, I can upload whatever I want, wherever I want, because we're in higher education, so we're immune to copyright, or it's the university's responsibility, not my responsibility. Okay, so obviously that's a problem because that's a bit of a misconception. The responsibility is the person who uploads it. The university has a responsibility to inform you and keep you up to date, but as long as we're doing that, that's reasonable behaviour for us. So really, if you're uploading something, the responsibility is on you. So that's the first part of it. The second train of thought was, well, actually, I'm really sensitive about copyright, but I still don't understand it, so I'm going to keep away from uploading stuff. And that's not good either. That's something we need to do some work there to help you to be confident in saying you can use these resources. We've just got to do it in the right way. So the question was, how can we do that? How can we support you more? And this led to the VITAL MOT service, which we launched this year. And basically what this service is doing is it's saying, let us go into your VITAL pages. Give us access. We'll go in and we'll check all your resources. We'll see what's on there, and we'll see if you've uploaded, say you have uploaded a whole book. Well, we'll see whether we've got it in the library as an e-resource. Say we might have a DRM-free version of the ebook, or we might have a journal subscription, in which case we can just replace it with a link. Failing that, we can always submit a digitisation. So again, it's the same process. Our team will make sure that we get a fully OCR'd copy. We'll make sure that it's fully copyright compliant, have the cover sheet, and then we'll embed it into your pages for you. So again, in terms of the user experience, the student's just going in, they're clicking on it, and it's right there. And again, they can print it, download it, whatever they want to do with that. Obviously, we'll make sure that everything is fully compliant. And in the cases where for some reason we can't get a license, it's just too much, or where the problem might be, we will source extra print copies or an ebook or whatever it might be for the library to make sure that the resources are there for your students. And ultimately, we'll provide feedback and advice as well. So as we're going through the pages, we might notice things like you might have videos embedded in there. And we can provide a little bit of guidance of that. We can say, well, okay, you've got a video, but have you thought about who's uploaded the video, who owns it? Just these kind of questions to help you along, to make sure that you are confident that what you've got up there is totally safe. Okay, so the pilot we ran the early part of this year, it was across 17 modules, and there was a broad selection of departments within that, so everything from English to vet science. There was some really, really good feedback, and you can take time to read those quotes, but the gist of it was essentially that this was a really good service because it's giving you peace of mind ultimately, and we're doing all the hard work for you. You don't have to do anything, just get in touch and say you want an MOT. We go in, we make sure it's copyright compliant, and you've got peace of mind and that you've done everything you can to be reasonable and safe, and you're getting the resources that you want. Okay, now, if you don't take anything else away from today, then I really want you to just take this. This is probably the most important thing. If you go to the LibGuide for digitisation, there's a ton of information on there for you that should be really helpful. There's all sorts of documents on there. The digital copies checklist is something we've created. This is a guide where before you upload anything, you can go through it and ask yourself certain questions. So you can say, have I got a book? How many pages is it? Is it a chapter? Is it a couple of chapters? All these kind of questions for all sorts of different scenarios, just to get you thinking about, can I upload this? Oh yeah, I'm safe, this is fine, this is within the guidelines. But we've also got obviously information about the Digitisation Service, the MOTs, there's information for reading lists, and of course copyright and FAQs as well. So it's all there for you. I would like to put my contact details down there, so if you are interested in an MOT or you'd just like to know more about copyright, then please do get in touch. If you have a question about a resource and you're not sure, can I use this? Or, I want to get hold of this, but I'm not sure what the license are. Get in touch. Just get in touch, and we'll be always here to help and support you through whatever you need, really. So you've got my contact details there personally, but there's also the digitisation team. Or if you prefer, you can get in touch with the liaison librarian, and they'll get in touch with me on your behalf.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
thank you so much.
Okay, all right. Thank you.